apart! And you're running!
And you're running!
The tire squeal.
Yeah.
Always the tire squeal.
Welcome to Screams and Streams, the podcast that looks at the best and worst horror movies as rated on Rotten Tomatoes from 1970 onwards. I'm your host, Mike Karen, and with me are my co-hosts,
Sam Schreiner
and
Chad Campbell.
Be sure to check us out on Instagram. Our handle is @ScreamStreamPod. Also, check out our website at screamsandstreams.com for more information about all the films we are looking at. Just a warning, if you don't like spoilers, we recommend that you stop listening now, check out the film, and then rejoin us for our discussion. Today, we are looking at Toby Hooper's 1979 miniseries / film, Salem's Lot. It scored 89% on Rotten Tomatoes. Let's get into it. Sam, can you give us our plot summary, please?
author Ben Mears returns to his childhood home of Jerusalem's Lot in search of inspiration for his next book, only to discover his hometown is being preyed upon by a bloodthirsty vampire. And that is all.
That is the shortest summary for the longest film.
Literally the longest film in existence.
Our sinister sip for today is a Bloody Caesar, despite the lack of blood in a vampire film. Cheers.
Cheers, y'all.
Cheers. That's bloody good.
Damn it, you stole my line.
All right, we are going to get into our first impressions of the film. Chad, what did you think?
Fuck, was this movie slow? Holy smokes. This is the first time I've ever seen this. I walked by it in the video store many times thinking I was going to rent it. Never did. Apparently it was supposed to be a 2-part miniseries on TV, but they put it into this 1 3-hour film. It is slow. It's hard to get through because of that. The first hour and a half of the film, I felt that they could have cut a lot. And apparently this is supposed to be one of his closest renditions to a Stephen King novel. People still rave about it, say it was really good.
89% of people.
I don't get it. A vampire film looking through a 2024 lens, it was just too slow for me.
Yeah.
I just couldn't get by it. There were so many, I was texting you guys while I was watching it. The times I walked out of the room, came back, I guess I better back this up. I'm not entirely sure what's happening. I was disinterested. It didn't engage me the whole time. The last 45 minutes, I'd say I enjoyed better than the first, 2 hours.
It's not saying much.
But it's not really a glowing, I don't know. I would say it's got to be tightened up. I know they were trying to do a newer version of it, a remade version of it.
Yeah.
And hopefully they don't make the same mistake, because I just thought that a lot of it was lost in the time, because who wants to sit through a 3-hour film anymore? I'll sit through Lord of the Rings. I'm sorry, but I will. But but this one just didn't engage me as much. I thought the vampires were kind of silly in moments. I thought the accents weren't consistent. Supposed to be in Massachusetts. This is the time you're supposed to have an accent, and it came and went in a lot of people. I'm sorry, but it just missed the mark for me.
Fair enough. Sam, what did you think of it?
I would agree. I wish that whoever recommended this movie could be exposed, because I think I'm sorry to our viewers.
We're coming for you.
I'm going to publicly.
It's all over for you.
I spent too much of my life attempting to watch this movie. It's 3 hours long. It took me 5 tries to watch it. I kept falling asleep and I had no desire to go back to it. The story was fine, but it could have just been summed up. And all the scenes were long and slow. They were all drawn out. I actually texted Mike and said, I wish I could have watched it in double speed. Just because then I could get the gist of it through that. I was initially really excited because I saw Toby Hooper and Stephen.
Oh, there's some big names.
Yeah, and obviously it's Stephen King, but I'm so irritated. Another thing I didn't like about it was that there were so many characters.
Yeah.
They all looked the same, too. They were all just white men. And they
old men with comb overs.
They all had the same hair. I actually thought that it was potentially the surviving child was him as a child, because they looked identical.
They did, yeah.
And then the teacher even looked kind of like him too. So I was like, what is happening here? Yeah. There's so many characters. It was hard to keep track of them, but also it could have been just because I was falling asleep so many times. But yes, overall, way too long. I felt like I wasted my life.
My life.
I just want to say for the listeners that Sam starting off her first impressions looked like someone reading a victim statement to Congress.
I feel like a victim. This was a crime.
I feel like a victim.
Oh
wow,
my goodness.
I thought I didn't like the film. You just shat all over it.
It was so long. And I know it's a busy time of year for teachers, so maybe that plays into it. But I was like, get this going. Come on.
Yeah.
It
trying
was
to do marks and comments. And it's like, and now I got to watch a 3-hour Salem slot movie
that I was initially excited for. And then that fizzled very quickly.
I don't know what I can add to this. I read Salem's Lot as a kid and I loved the book and then got my dad to rent this from the video store. And I don't think I made it through it as a kid because all I remember is like just Ben Mears and Mark Petrie. I remember like an old guy with blonde hair and a young kid with blonde hair and a blue vampire. That's my only flash of my memory of this film.
He was so blue.
No, that's all I remembered. So rewatching it was a very fresh watch and it didn't take me 5 tries. I watched this over 2 days. I made it 40 minutes in and had to walk away. And then the other 2 hours and 10 minutes took me about 3.5 hours to watch because I fell asleep and had to rewind it to catch up to where I was. And I'm not going to lie. I fell asleep at one point and then I didn't bother to rewind it. So
you probably didn't miss anything.
The film still made sense.
We get it.
Well,
There's a vampire.
I watched it in one sitting.
Whoa.
I sat down and watched the whole sucker because I thought, oh my Lord.
It's a cure for insomnia. I don't know how you did it. I did listen to the audiobook over the last 2 weeks and just some of your comments about like the beginning is so slow. There's so many characters. I think this is the problem with Stephen King is he builds a community and everything is internal thought. All the characters and who they are, their motivations, it's all done through description, not through dialogue. And so when you get this film, it's like nothing's explained. Why is Ben Mears coming back? What happened to him in the Marsden house?
Yes.
None of that is really dealt with. Whereas that's like the key point of the book is him coming back from this trauma of his childhood. But I'm not going to get into the book. The book was much better. The movie was terrible. It was fucking stupid. It was fucking slow. It was fucking terrible. This is my angriest movie.
Wow.
We've done.
Because some people, this is the quintessential vampire film, right? Like this is the one that really stands the test of time on all vampire films. And we all did not really enjoy it.
I would give Buffy the Vampire Slayer, the film, higher credit than this.
Well, I would give Keanu Reeves acting in Bram Stoker's Dracula more credit than what this film gave.
Yeah.
Dare I say I would give Twilight a better review than this movie. Any of them.
I was like, I really like Breaking Dawn Part 1 or 2. Which one's the fight?
Which one is the baseball scene in? Because that one, for sure.
Part 2. Part 1's they're playing chess in Brazil because they can't have sex.
Oh, man. Even glittering vampires are better than what this gave us. Yeah.
This is the skin of a killer.
All right. Despite what we thought of the film, we still have to talk about it. So let's get into it.
Still got some categories to get through. Yeah.
All of them.
Let's get to our tropes hall of shame. And Sam, you're going to kick us out of the gate on this.
Incompetent cops. He literally leaves the town with his family during a crisis. He's like, bye. And then he gave his gun. He gave him his gun. And then I was like, okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, obviously that one. Creepy kids, obviously. Yeah. Also another trope.
Chad, what were some of your tropes?
Well, I had not only incompetent, but asshole cops. Right?
Yeah.
Because he goes around and he's threatening all these people. And also, it's all happening at night. I know in a vampire film it has to, but it's always turning nighttime in this film. It's about to go night. And there's one scene where, who is Renfield in this?
Straker.
He's walking down this Sleepy Hollow type walkway, and you hear the cheesy owl sound and hoo 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 in the background. I just laughed out loud at that moment. I was like, what is happening?
I had, it's a small town and everyone's in everyone's business.
Oh, yeah.
They all know everything. And my other one was the dead body just falling on a car horn.
Oh, yeah.
Anytime someone's dead, they got to fall forward and honk the
true,
horn. Sam, what were some of your other ones?
Fog. So much fog.
So much fog.
So much fog.
Yeah.
And then I actually had, it's kind of the first time I thought about it, but having to kill your lover after they've turned. So we see it a lot in zombie movies. We saw it Evil Dead as well. So that's, and there's always that hesitation. They show some sign that they're still human and they're like, I'm here.
Yeah.
And then they have to kill them anyways.
I had one not believing the victim coming in saying, this is happening. Oh, you're just being silly. That happened with the boys. Right? That kid got abducted and they didn't believe what was going on. Also, a scary sound I have to investigate.
Oh, yeah.
So they're always, what was that?
Let's go see.
It was drapes off there.
My last one sort of ties with Sam's and the last bit of humanity before they kill the vampire. It is the vampire thinks they're seducing their victim. Right. This is in Mexico where she suddenly shows up and she's like, "Oh, I'm here, Ben."
Right.
And he leans in and like, "Oh my gosh, he's going to kiss her." No, he takes a stake and kills her. Yeah.
Yep.
We're now going to move into our one-liners. Chad, what were some of the lines from the film that you liked?
I want to have some funning tonight. And you know what happens when you drink too much. So, so the secretary, who's obviously having an affair with her boss, comes back, and her husband, who is, sitting on the recliner chair, drinking beers, and she says, "Hey, I want to have some funning tonight. Don't drink too much, because you know what happens if you drink too much." He's like, "Get me a beer." Mm-hmm. So, and I had one that I thought that was just kind of weird. It was, "How come you came here? Strangers don't usually come here this time of year." It was the boarding house lady.
Oh, Eva Miller.
She was talking to the writer when he came back. All I did was say, setting something up. You obviously know that things are going to happen because strangers are coming. So, yeah.
Right. Sam, what were some of yours?
There was one line I loved, and it was Stoker, and he said, "You'll enjoy Mr. Barlow, and he'll enjoy you."
Ooh.
I really liked that one. And then another one kind of on similar lines was Mike said, "You will sleep like the dead teacher." So it was like that big threat there as he was being cast away from his house. So I did like those two.
I found Susan, Ben Mears' love interest, just the aggressive sexuality was quite surprising for a 1979 film. When he first meets her and she's in the park reading his book and she's getting to know him, she's like looking at the flap. It's like, it says here, you're married, no children. Still married, no children. Just like pointedly asking you for a specific reason.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then later, someone says ciao, and the other character's like, "I didn't know you were Italian." "I'm not. The word is."
I miss that. That's
I miss that too.
Yeah. That's awesome.
One of the few moments I was like, "Hey, that was good." All right, Chad, do you have any other lines?
Yeah, I have one. First of all, it's kind of weird that they go on their first date and it's at the parents' house.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah.
And he meets her parents for the very first time on their first date. Anyways, the mom says what her book's about.
Yeah.
And she says, "Oh, it's about two men." And she says, "Oh, not one of those." I could have put that in. Doesn't hold up,
Yes.
but I put it in the one-liners. So that was my next one.
Did you have another?
This one I thought was hilarious. He comes back to the bed and breakfast, and I can't remember what she says to him, but he says, "I'm tired. I'm going to have a cup of coffee and go to sleep." Who usually has a cup of coffee to go to bed?
Yeah.
It's not really your nighttime. I was like, is it Sanka? Is it decaf? Like, what are we doing here? Like, so that was my next one.
Sam, did you have others?
Yeah, one more Stoker quote. "The master wants you. Throw away your cross and face the master. Your faith against his faith. Could you do that? Is your faith enough? Then do it. Throw away the cross, face the master, faith against faith." I thought it was such a good, a good scene. And it was like the least stereotypical priest I've ever seen. I was like, what is this man's qualifications to be a priest here? Because he does not look like a typical priest.
Well, and I said I wasn't going to talk about the book, but I do like the scene where he's holding a cross up towards Barlow and Barlow just walks over and like crushes it out of his hand. In the book, there's this whole thing where he has a crisis of faith, and that's why the cross...
He loses his faith. Yeah, I did hear about that, yeah.
In the movie, it's just like, even though the crosses worked earlier, we're just going to throw that out the window for no reason.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then any other lines? I think, Chad, you have one more?
Oh, I had one where he tells a writer, "I trust you will keep this to yourself." I can't remember who said it to Ben. He's a writer. Those guys don't keep anything.
Yeah. It's like every movie with a reporter, "This is off the record, right?"
Yeah.
No.
It could have been a trope, yeah.
We're now going to go into what doesn't hold up, and I'm going to start us off in this one. This one was going to be my gratuitous. I'm going to keep it with doesn't hold up, but everyone moves so fucking slow.
Yeah.
That is in my most gratuitous.
Yes.
And I put like, it's tempting to watch it at 1.5 speed. And I almost did like, no, got to stay true, got to watch it.
Yeah.
So that's my first doesn't hold up, is just the speed. And it's not just the way they move, like it's their dialogue is slow.
Yep.
Everything is done slow. And then the other thing that didn't hold up for me was Weasel the Town Drunk, his wide-eyed drunk acting.
I put on there, this guy's name is Weasel?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know, yeah.
But he's just sitting at the bar like, whoa.
Oh, I know. It's horrible. Yeah, his drunk acting is awful.
Yeah.
And we know how I feel about actors and their drunk acting.
Yes. Yeah, this one didn't save the milieu or whatever you want to call it. Sam, what doesn't hold up for you?
Just the editing of this film. I had to keep reminding myself this is a miniseries. Like this was made for a miniseries because there were so many cuts in it. I think probably the cuts were for commercial breaks, if I'm assuming correctly. It was really distracting. So I didn't love that aspect of it. And when I looked it up, I could kind of see this as a miniseries, actually. If you kind of said like each episode was going to be like someone turning, I was like, oh, that makes sense. And then I found out it was a 2-episode miniseries.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, no, it's just poorly done. Yeah. So that was one of mine. I didn't know where to kind of put this one, but it didn't hold up for me because it was laughable. But the two parents being banged together and then they were just dead and they're like, oh, no, they're gone. That was hilarious.
Chad, what doesn't hold up for you?
When the drunk husband comes home and
Just when he catches Bonnie with the guy?
Yes.
Oh,
I loved that scene until they got to, I said, I think Larry could have moved the gun, even if he thought it was loaded, right? Because he just keeps put it up to your head, put it up to your head. And all he had to do is like, just kind of go to the side.
Yeah.
And it was like right there. I guess he was that scared. But attached to that, I also had what it also has aged poorly is drunken domestic abuse. He comes in right after he's threatened old Silk Shorts there.
Yeah.
And you just hear it. You don't see him smacking his wife. And then the next scene, she's got a black eye. And I was like, well, I think that scene could have been cut.
A couple more of my doesn't hold ups. The vampire attacks. I know it's made for TV, so they can't show too much, but it's like every time they would just like get close to the victim and then cut to commercial, I assume. And just, it took away all the horror.
The hand comes up.
Yeah, the musical sting.
Yes.
Yeah. And then I don't know if this is going to come in your test of time, Chad, but Fred Willard suits did not hold up for me. He's wearing white pants with a white shirt, a white tie, and a blue plaid jacket. Oh.
It was so hard for me to see Fred Willard in not a comedic role.
Yeah.
Because I've seen him so much in all the Christopher Guest films and stuff where he just improvises and stuff. So to see him in this kind of a role, I was just, oh, where's the funny?
Yeah.
Because he's so good at improvisational comedy, or he was, rest in peace, that just having him tied to a script and doing this, I was just disappointed.
Yeah.
Because he's better than this.
Yeah.
Or he was.
Yeah. Chad, what were some of your other doesn't hold ups?
I had the gravedigger, and my comment was, fuck off. One guy's filling the dirt. The kid dies, and there's one guy that shows up with a shovel. I was like, come on, you're going to fill in that all by yourself?
Well, even the graves he digs are deep, and it's like he dug all that by himself.
Yeah, there's just no way. Yeah. I also had so many dinners. What the hell are they eating?
Yeah, the food did not look appetizing.
I didn't even notice.
Oh. Well, I was looking at absolutely everything except what I was supposed to be looking at on the screen. When he goes to dinner with drama teacher that inspired him or whatever, he's got these 2 slabs of pink, I don't know, it looks like liver or kidneys, like just on the slabs of lettuce. And Buddy is just sitting there hitting all his food with a fork, just like they do in The Big Bang Theory, where they just actually never eat. They just sit there and punch it around and poke it around. So that kind of stuff is distracting to me. So it's just like, eat the fucking food. But obviously they did not want to.
No.
And I just felt like all the scenes at Susan's house, it looked like high school cafeteria. Like, here's your slop for the day.
Yeah.
My last doesn't hold up was the way the vampire pops up when Ben's getting a steak from the bag. It was just like,
is that the first reveal? Is that the first time we see the vampire?
I can't remember, but it was just like this weird, like,
surprise. Yeah.
All right, we're now going to move into our most gratuitous scene. Sam, what was most gratuitous for you in this?
The movement of the characters, as you mentioned before, I popped it right into most gratuitous. The one that triggered me so much was when Susan was going to the Marston house. I can't even explain how slow motion it was. Everyone seemed like they were moving, speaking, everything was slow, but you see her like, look at the house and then drive over to the house and then look and take the keys out and then go out of and then looks around, and it's so slow motion. And then she walks up to the house, and then you see the hand reaching so slowly for the door. Everything took so long in this film, and it was just like speeded up. So just that as a whole made it so gratuitous.
Yeah. For me, my most gratuitous was Mike's tongue when he's a vampire. He's like, look at me, and he's all gray, but his like pink tongue is just like ASMRing around inside his mouth.
They had weird like
it was so pink. and so moist. And it was just like he just kept tonguing his teeth. And it was like the biggest tongue in there. Oh, that was gross. Chad, what was most gratuitous for you?
I don't know, and I could be out of line here, but mine was, why is the house so dirty? Because
when they go inside the Marstons?
Yeah, because usually vampires, I don't know, it's usually pretty clean, but there was just all this junk all over the place, and I don't know, it just really...
It reminded me of the Chainsaw House with like the chicken feathers everywhere.
Yes. Okay, so I actually had that. I was like, is this like a trope? Is this like just the creepy house is just gross and disgusting?
Yeah. So as soon as he walked in, I was like, why is it so messed up? Like, I don't get this.
Yeah.
Like, especially if Straker is like his butler or his servant.
Is that the relationship? Because I was like, what?
Like a familiar.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think he's a ghoul. I think he's like Renfield. I think he's the guy that like sets it all up and helps him in the daytime, and then old buddy wakes up and feeds.
Yeah.
But he should be cleaning the house because it looks absolutely filthy and just run down and gross. That's different from other vampire films that I've seen. So
he's busy running the Needful Things store.
I was gonna say
Needful Things. I drew that too. Yeah. I said this movie reminds me of Needful Things.
We're now going to talk about what was terrifying or titillating in the film, and I'm going to go because nobody else has anything.
Neither boxes were ticked.
This movie was not terrifying at all. It was laughable. For me, I did have Susan, I've already talked about this, like, is aggressively down to fuck. But she even like mentions it. She's like, I know this is aggressive for a woman and all that. And it's like, yeah, but you're letting them know what you want. Good for you. But the other one I had was when the two movers are going, they've dropped off the secretary's husband at the cemetery and they're driving away and they start referring to the wife as Boom Boom Bonnie.
Right.
Yeah,
Yes.
And like they use the nickname multiple times. And it's just like, it's very good for like small town Stephen King world where it's like, you're going to have a nickname for a woman, but yeah. Boom, boom, Bonnie. And I'm like, do they ever use that word in front of her husband? Like, who'd want to know that everyone in town calls your wife
Boom Boom Bonnie? Well, you know, when Boom Boom has a plan.
Yeah. Did either of you want to chime in on this or just?
Nothing was very terrifying. My thing goes into stood the test of time, so I'll wait till the next category to reveal that. But
I was just going to add to that, like through my research, I briefly looked at Susan was actually being portrayed to be like super leftist at the time. So I don't know if that leads into like her character.
Oh,
just based on the political climate and stuff that Ben too was seen to be like the leftist writer. And so maybe that's where, you know, the two men comment came out of, those types of things. It was like these liberal ideas that were coming out at the time.
Right.
So that could play a part in it.
We're now going to get into stood the test of time. Sam, what stood the test of time for you?
The concept of a creepy, haunted, evil house, I think is awesome. I love it. Every single movie I see, I love that concept of it. We saw it in Amityville Horror, The Shining with the hotel. Like we do see this. I also really loved, on that same note, the opening scene. So it has the credits and you have the house and the lighting changing with the house.
Right.
I really, really liked that scene.
I'll add my test of time. This is sort of near the beginning when he's looking at the Marston house and there's that little flash of blue in his eyes. I kind of liked it. I literally wrote like, I kind of liked the way his eyes flashed. It was subtle enough that I almost thought like maybe it was just a lighting from the set because we'd already seen the blue glow of the holy water in Mexico in the opening scene. Yep. So when his eyes just had a little twinkle, I was like, yeah, that was a good little effect. Nice little ad there. My other test of time was the scene where the young boy goes to Mark's window and he's scratching his nails on the glass.
yes.
Like
I had that one as well.
Like the shivers up my spine.
I had that one as well, yeah.
But just that part of that scene.
Yeah, not the bobbing, the like.
Yeah, not the mist, not the bad lighting, not the bad makeup, just the nails on the window. Yeah.
Yep.
Chad, what stood the test of time for you?
Well, mine were kind of speaking to that were the eyes. Like I love the eyes of the vampires.
Yeah.
In all the ones that changed. So I really liked that. I thought Bill's death stood the test of time when he picks him up and puts him in the horns and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Sam, what else stood the test of time?
I said the eyes, and I kind of liked the vampire teeth, not on the master. Like, I don't understand why some of them, it's their like canines that are the big
He's
ones.
got like two rabbit
And
teeth.
I was like, I think I made a comment. I was like, why is he like the bucktooth like vampire?
There's I listened to a video essay on this and they talk about Stephen King and how his vampire stories are part of a whole universe, almost like the MCU.
Okay.
So in the Dark Tower, The priest from this lives, and he's in the Dark Tower, but he's been kind of possessed. He's kind of a lesser demon now. And he explains 3 different classes of vampire. And the one that Barlow is a class 1 vampire, and he doesn't look human.
Right.
And so his teeth are like that. And then the class 2 have the fangs that we are familiar with. And a type 3 is one that wanders the earth almost like a Renfield or something like that.
Okay.
Can still suck blood of the living, but doesn't have the supernatural and the crazy powers that a vampire does.
Oh, good to know.
Because I thought the same thing. I was like, why the hell are his teeth so big?
Yeah.
right there.
But then I found this and it explained
Interesting.
that.
Okay.
Well, that helps because I was like, everyone else looks dead with glowing eyes, whereas he's blue skinned and weird looking like Nosferatu, and just never understood why.
So he's supposed to be like the grandfather vampire. He came about at the beginning of vampires. So he's the oldest,
okay.
he's the strongest, he's the big vampire. Whereas the other ones are just his like little minions kind of thing.
Oh, good to know. I also had the boy at the window as well. Not the bobbing part, but the same thing. Just like imagine just like waking up and that's at your window is terrifying. But why do none of them close their curtains is crazy. I was like, at first I actually had to like go back and be like, do they have curtains? And I looked at pictures and I was like, no, they do have curtains. They just don't close them. And then the one scene, I didn't love how it was done. I think it could have been done better, but it's the idea behind it. And that's the morgue scene with Danny's mom. So she's under the blanket at the morgue.
Right.
And then Ben is in there, of course, with his cross. Or is that when he made the cross out of popsicle sticks?
Yeah.
Okay. Which I was like, is that the same? Can you just whip one
he
up
blessed
like
it.
Yeah. In the book, they do like improvise with sticks and things.
Okay. Well, yeah, okay. Okay. Anyways, but yeah, I liked the idea of it, of like, you know, the hand and the actual sheet moving.
Yeah.
I don't think it was super well executed, but I do like the idea behind it.
I'm going to give my last one. And this one was when Ben goes back to his apartment and Susan's ex-boyfriend / other guy she was kind of seeing.
The plumber?
Yeah. When he pops up from behind the changing barrier and just like decks Ben.
Yeah.
I was just like, I did not see that coming.
No, that was actually the only time I jumped in the movie. Like I was like, oh, like jump scare.
Yeah, the jump
and then
scares.
that was actually my what the fuck moment. Cause I was like, what the fuck? Who is that? And then you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah. All right. We are now going to move on to eerie to ear splitting. Chad, what did you think of the use of sound in this film?
I thought it was too much. There was sound on every cue where it was supposed to be scary. There was loud music on certain parts. It was just used way too much.
Yeah.
And every cue, we made reference to the hand. The hand comes up. Diddle-oo, and then there's a person behind. Diddle-oo. Every like thing there is cued by sound. And that kind of stuff just annoys me.
Yeah.
It was too much.
Then speaking of that and the overuse, the opening credits, the music was overwhelming to me just because it felt like the movie didn't know what it wanted to be.
Right.
It was like daytime soap opera mixed with scary, mixed with drama. Like it was just all these different motifs in one opening credit scene. I'm like, I don't like it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sam, what did you think of the music or sound?
There were a couple things I did think were eerie, and that was the scratching at the window that we've talked about. I also really liked the creaking of the rocking chair as well. Like that's one thing that is super, like if you think about a rocking chair actually creaking back and forth and how it would sound, I think that's really good. The one really ear splitting was the scene of all the stuff jangling right before the parents are attacked. Like they're all eating dinner. Like, surprise, they're always eating dinner.
Yeah, everybody's eating
Everyone's
dinner all
eating,
the time.
but not actually. But all the like the table starts and it's like so much jangling.
Yeah,
and,
like an earthquake or something.
Yeah, and it's like, oh, stop. So yeah, that was a bit splitting.
I did like when the light glowed and then burst. That was good.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we're now going to get to our what the fuck moments. And for me, the what the fuck was twice in the film. Once at the beginning, once at the end. They show a full moon and have a wolf howl. This is a vampire movie.
Yeah.
This is more of a why the fuck, not a what the fuck. But why the fuck do you have a wolf howling at the moon in a vampire movie? I didn't get it. Chad, what was your what the fuck?
Mine was what Sam said. It was the guy that jumps out of the closet and like just belts him and then is gone.
Disappears.
Just runs away.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm out of Dodge.
Bye.
That and of course, I didn't put this in my trope, but when we first meet the plumber, he jumps in the van, turns the corner. There's a stop sign like 2 inches from where he jumps in. So he goes, he stops, and then and then the tires squeal across.
Yeah.
Oh, the tires.
Always the tire squeal. What the fuck is with the tire squeal?
Speaking of stop signs, anyone else notice that Ben Mears runs a stop sign at the start of the film?
Does he? No, I didn't notice either.
He looks at the Marsden house, gets in the Jeep, drives into town, and goes right through a stop sign.
Nice.
He's just so disturbed by that house. Yeah. Doesn't the house look a little bit like Norman Bates?
Yeah.
Is it like the Psycho house?
Yeah.
Yeah. The director's commentary, the little bit I listened to, Toby Hooper talked about they were looking for angles and sort of things that were like uncomfortable. And he's like, we didn't intend it to look like that, but that's the way the frame turned out.
That's a creepy house. We mentioned that in the Psycho one, that it was just like an iconic.
Yeah, that gothic architecture really works. Yeah. We're now going to get to our back it up moments.
Nope.
I had none.
The
only backing it up I did was after I fell asleep to rewind back to the flippin' part I left off on.
Yeah, I had none. So, Mike, this is all you.
All you. The stage is yours.
I actually pulled audio for mine because it was just so funny and bad. It was like a back it up for a bad reason. And it's when Ben and Jason, the teacher, are talking and Mike, the gravedigger, walks in. He doesn't look very good.
Yeah.
And I pulled this just because his line delivery is so comical that I was like, oh, I got to see that again. And when I was pulling audio, because I had the timestamp, I watched it a couple of times. Like, this is amazing. So it starts off with this.
Mike, are you on something?
No.
Drugs?
Sick. Yes, sick.
So
sick, just sick.
And then he's like, what's going on? And there's so many pauses between this. That's why I didn't put it as one long clip, because it ends up being like 30 seconds. But this is Mike going on after like, what's going on?
First, I found my dog dead. Then there was the funeral yesterday. I fell asleep on Harmony Hill. Didn't wake up till morning.
This was after Danny Glick's funeral.
But see what I mean about the accent? Like if you listen to him talk, he finds certain words that he can nail with that accent. Yeah. But otherwise, I didn't till morning. It's like, are you Irish? Are you like, what's going on here?
But I just love it.
My dad's golden.
First, my dog's dead.
That actually was, I would say, like, saddest part of the movie. I was like, oh no, like you knew it was coming.
In that scene, he goes, have you seen my dog? And then the guy's like, nope. And he walks 3 steps. He's like, there it is. And it's dead. I was like, you didn't see that, buddy? Like, anyways, go ahead.
And my other back it up is just a minor little thing again. This almost could have been test of time, but I was like, got to find something for this category.
We didn't.
When they're in the cellar and Ben is killing the vampire and Mark is back against the wall and there's the opening behind him into the other, like, I guess the fruit cellar, whatever you want to call it. There's the vampires that are slowly like crawling towards them. They're out of focus.
Oh yeah.
And there's like
that's
that
kind of creepy,
impending tension and like, oh my God, they're going to get him. I liked that. I was really pulling for anything I could find to back up.
No, but that was actually a cool scene. And I missed writing that down because they were out of focus, which was kind of cool. And you just saw this movement. Yeah, that was kind of cool. Yeah.
It gets ruined when they do come in focus because then they look comically bad.
Oh, and so I just went back through my notes and I wrote, Marcus didn't hear the other fucking vampires useless. That's what I said. He's pretty useless throughout the film, I would say.
He's like the hero of the book.
Is he?
Yeah, he's pretty awesome in the book.
Oh, okay.
Because I don't know. I think this is basically like Stephen King's fantasy.
He's got a wicked room though, Mark. Like
he does.
Like with all and it's huge. Like with all the stuff he's got. Like I love this room.
Oh yeah. We're now going to go into hiding in the shadows. Chad, what do you have in the shadows?
Well, for me, I wasn't sure where to put this, but I always found it interesting how they use crosses in vampire movies. And I think as vampire movies have progressed, they've lost power because in this movie, if it's blessed, it can almost kill a lower level vampire out of the gate. Like he puts it on that woman's forehead.
Right.
She backs off and she disappears. Like she just goes. Whereas now, a lot of times you see vampires that just, even in Bram Stoker's Dracula, he looks at the cross and starts it on fire and just whacks it away.
Right.
I just thought it was almost symbolizing the loss of power in the church, just because before it could destroy evil very easily. And now it's not even really a thing.
Yeah.
Right? Like it causes them some discomfort. It's like
put it away.
Irritable bowel syndrome. And then they're, but they'll still kill you.
I'm crucifix intolerant.
I took some Lactaid and I'm good to go. But that was just my little comment about it. I wasn't quite sure where to put that.
All right, fair enough. Sam, what did you have hiding in the shadows?
I don't really understand the timeline of the vampires turning. I don't know if it was the movie's pacing or maybe now that there's the different tiers, but some of them turned really quickly and then some of them took forever. Like the gravedigger took forever, I feel. Yeah. And then the kid was pretty quickly, like I felt. So I don't know if it was just the choppiness of the movie or something. I didn't really understand that. Because it just seemed like Danny's mom, that was pretty quick. Like that was like the night of. Whereas I feel like Mike's was really long.
Okay.
So it must be the cut, like the editing maybe or something. But yeah, I didn't really understand the timeline.
Yeah. For me, hiding in the shadows, this was more of a, I wish they'd done it, but it would have been probably too comical. But we do see the population of the town sign quite often. Yeah. I thought it would have been great if the number had kept getting adjusted. Like
just X'd out.
Have some poor person out there like having to change it multiple times.
Weasel. Get Weasel out there. Weasel. Whatever happened to him in the film?
I don't know.
Like they get him to a certain point.
Yeah, I don't know.
And then he just disappears.
Yeah.
Too many characters in the film.
That's the thing. There were a lot of characters in this film that just kind of disappear.
Yeah.
They either leave, kill, or are part of the brood, right? So.
Yeah. We're now going to get into our bonus features. Sam, what kind of stuff did you find about the film?
I found that the exterior for the Marston house was actually a full-scale building, and it was on top of a pre-existing hilltop house. It actually cost about $100,000 to build. In 1979, an entire house could have been made for that amount. So including everything, all the interior and everything like that.
In the director's commentary, Toby Hooper talked about like they were looking for something that was up on the hill, removed from the town and had a perfect view. So they had that and they're like, yeah, they built the shell around it. He said it was really weird for him to be like filming on one side, knowing that like there's people inside there just living their lives, going out the back and while they're filming a movie.
Yeah.
Chad, did you have anything?
I found that director George Romero was originally approached to direct the feature film version. But after the announcements of John Badham's Dracula and Werner Herzog's Nosferatu, the Vampire, Warner Brothers decided to turn Salem's Lot into a TV miniseries and Romero dropped out, feeling he wouldn't be able to make the film the way he wanted to with the restrictions of a network television.
Yeah, he also did it because he didn't think the budget would be enough.
Right.
And it's like after all the crap we've seen from Romero, he finally realizes what a budget could do for him. We mentioned the contact lenses. The glowing effect contact lenses were invented for this film.
Oh, that's cool.
Which is kind of cool.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they were good.
But actors had to rest for 30 minutes after wearing them for 15 minutes on set.
Oh.
Because they were that hard on their eyes.
Wow.
Sam, did you have any others?
I don't know. It's more so with the book, but apparently Stephen King wanted to call the novel Second Coming. Oh. but his wife thought, like all of us, that it sounds like a bad sex story.
Chad?
Yeah, I had one. The scenes of the child vampires floating outside the victims' windows was partly filmed in reverse to give it a more eerie effect. Additionally, the actors performed on a boom crane rather than being suspended on wires.
Which I don't know if that helped or not.
Yeah, I don't know.
I think it could have been better. Yeah. I don't know what they needed to do, but something better could have been done.
Well, it did kind of look a little silly when they were just kind of bobbing around. Like they just kind of...
He could have just been still. Like they could have just been still looking at. That would have been so much creepier.
Peering in, just kind of tapping on the glass. But I think that's probably what comes with the crane, right? The crane is probably a little more bouncy.
Yeah,
and the wires would have been more stable.
I don't know, but maybe they didn't want it to make it. They wanted to make sure it looked like they were floating and not just like standing on the roof of the first floor. I don't know.
But then they like floated in, so like that would
really
slowly floated in.
Oh, it's terrible. I actually stumbled across 2 websites that claimed it was one of the scariest scenes in television.
The kid thing?
Yeah. Where the kids coming in, because it's like the scariest scene in television and Salem's Lot's TV miniseries, scariest moments. I'm like, ooh, what are those?
Because I found none.
It's like, well, it certainly was not the boys floating in the windows, but good for you. Any others?
Although the story was set in Maine, it was filmed in California.
Yeah. It was nominated for 3 Emmys.
Oh,
I know. Outstanding Achievement in Graphic Design and Title Sequences. Oh, Sam, you liked the beginning.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Sure.
Outstanding Achievement in Makeup, which I guess for 1979, maybe, I don't know.
For then, I would think. Yeah.
And Outstanding Achievement in Music Composition for a limited series or special.
Boo earns on that one. Yeah, I don't agree with that
at
all.
And then the last thing I had was the main vampire is on screen for less than 90 seconds of a 3-hour movie.
I know.
Sorry, I just got really angry at the end of that sentence.
But that's crazy, right? Like, I mean, you see him kill a couple of people and then you see him get killed.
Yeah.
That's it. And I would have to say that the battle scene between Barlow and Ben was very anticlimactic. Like,
Oh, yeah.
I wanted to see some actual fight or something happen.
But it just, yeah.
Wheels him out of his little cave and
Like weird cement thing.
yeah. I also thought that what didn't age well was the light in the holy water.
Yeah, it was cheesy.
It was
when
super
he's
cheesy.
like, "Oh, they found us." It was superimposed on the bottle, it seemed, and I was just doesn't.
You know what else doesn't hold up? People moving crates without some sort of dolly.
Yeah.
Just sliding it along the ground. That irritated the shit out of me.
Yeah, it's like it could be a little heavier than that. Yeah.
Alrighty, we're now going to get into our watchability scale. Sam, where would you put this one?
I'd give it a 2.
Oh,
Ooh,
Like 5? I don't know.
a 2 out of 5?
2.5.
Oh,
2 out of 5. No.
That's like scales out of 10. A 2.5.
2.5. I don't know. I kept trying to give it grace and say it's a TV miniseries. And so I was like, I could see like if it's a little 30-minute like show, I'm like, I could,
Snippets,
little snippets. And, every week they kill someone else. And then I could see that being okay. And then when I read that it was a 2-parter, that it was 2 parts too long.
So with commercials, this was 2 hours per night, probably.
Oh my
goodness.
God. Yeah.
Yeah, it was brutal. There wasn't much for me to go on it, honestly. And I was very excited for it, very let down with it. 2.5. I'm sorry, y'all, but.
Oh, don't apologize because I'm giving this a 1.
Ooh.
Oh, I mean, it's not as terribly made as some of the things we've given a 1.
Yeah.
But I can't.
Wow.
I thought about 2, but no, I did not like this
No.
at all. Chad, what'd you think of it?
Well, I was a little more generous. I gave it a 3. I just thought there were enough kind of either laughable parts or parts with the vampires that I liked that I gave it a 3. I mean, that's still not stellar,
Yeah.
but I'm going to hold it a 3.
All right. For a cure for insomnia, I give it a 10.
Maybe I'm going too easy on it because I looked at some of the video essays and people were talking about it and saying, oh, it's one of the most amazing Stephen King adaptations ever. And so maybe I gave it a break there, but yeah.
I've shifted with movies in the past due to research and conversation. Not this one.
I'm sorry that our conversation
Yeah.
still resulted in a 1.
Yeah, you really didn't like this
No,
film.
I
Yeah.
really didn't.
I don't think I could. Yeah, I wouldn't be able to recommend this to anyone, really. Like it's so long.
It's too long.
I think
yeah.
you could show a picture of like the blue vamp and then the children at the window and you're like, this is it. Just with 3 hours and with boom, boom, Bonnie.
Boom, boom.
And the ex-boyfriend are somewhere in there.
Well, the problem is there's very little character development
Yeah.
except for the main character, like the writer, right?
Yeah.
So you don't really need to know anything about anybody else. So
is
really,
there that much development with him? Shows up, he's got some trauma.
I have to admit, maybe this is
but
why I fell asleep.
more
Does he
than the
talk?
most.
Does he talk about finding Huey's body in the house in the show?
Not that I
No,
remember.
not that I
No.
remember.
Okay, because in the book, that's his biggest thing is like he's in the house and he like goes upstairs and he finds a body like hanged from suicide. And like that's
No.
why he's so traumatized by this house and wants to get back into it.
No, he talks about it. Like he talks about the suicide house and stuff, but I don't.
Okay.
Maybe
He does talk about one day I went in there
Yeah.
and he says, it was traumatizing for him,
Yeah.
but can't for the life of me recall the monologue or the
Yeah.
section that he talks about. But I mean, other than that, other than the main character, you could show the last hour of the film and be like, all right, there you
It's
go.
a concise film.
Even that, like it was too long. Like I said, Susan going to her car is, I think, in that last hour because I kept checking. I was like, "Fuck, there's still another hour and a half left." It was, yeah. I don't know. He could have rolled up and like one person could have turned, one child at the window, and then he goes and fights the vampire. And they're like, "Ooh, is it the house? Is it not?" Nothing else needed to be done. Nothing else.
You didn't want to see people shopping over knickknacks?
No,
That's right. Going to the needful things store, talking to somebody.
Straker? Yeah.
Who I thought did a great job. I
Yeah.
thought Straker was a good actor.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
thought
There you go.
There we go.
That's my 3. Just him.
Just James Mason. Okay, let's close the casket on this film. Thank you for listening to us. Remember to follow us on Instagram. We are at ScreamStreamPod. Stop by our website, screamsandstreams.com, where we have information about our episodes, descriptions of our categories, links to our research, our watchability scale, and a page where you can recommend movies you want us to discuss. And please rate, comment on, and subscribe to our show on any of the platforms where you get your podcasts. Until next time, this has been Mike and
Sam
and
Chad.
Scare you later.